La pasan en Europa, ellos tienen...
Clarified Bernadette earlier because I was afraid with the accordion up here that you were expecting me to provide some sort of musical accompaniment. And there is no surer way to clear out a room than for me to attempt to carry a tune. So I appreciate your sparing me that particular public humiliation. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much for inviting me to share a little bit.
No sense to me at all. So, responsible fiscal control is what I will bring to the Sheriff's Office, and professional, disciplined leadership. Thank you.
We've heard the phrase, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. What is the one thing that you think that the current sheriff is doing well that you will continue to do? You are our representative.
So far. You know, that just may be a stumper. You know, I would say that I think he can stand in front of a camera and look pretty good. I will continue to do that. I think I can do that. But other than that, I just can't identify an awful lot that the man has done, because, of course, this department is, again, worse off now than it was when he took office. So I just don't see that many things that I want to emulate with this guy.
All right. Lewis, in the motto, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, what is the one thing that the sheriff has done well that you would continue?
With the commissioner's blessing, I think the one thing that he did do, my opponent here talked a little bit about a SWAT van with no SWAT team. He did develop an HROU team, which is basically a SWAT team. I think that needs to be looked at, maybe even expanded a little bit. I know they've been called out several times. These guys are true professionals, and they do a great job while they're out there. That's one thing that I could probably think that I'd keep.
All right, hang on to that.
I got it.
Addressing the budget and giving you a little bit more time to drill a little deeper on the budget. Under the current budget constraints, what would you do in specific areas to try to help curtail the current budget problems of the Sheriff's Office? 2 minutes.
As you know, the Sheriff's Office budget is going to continue to grow with the growth of the county. And so there's not a whole lot that can be done about that, but things that can be done, programs that the current sheriff purchases and doesn't even implement, that kind of spending has to stop. The overtime issue in the jails is going to be a continuing problem. There's no immediate solution to that. Some of the things that have been tried have been shot down lately. That's an issue we're going to have to work at. But specifically in the Executive Bureau, there's a lot of fat there that can be trimmed and pushed back down to the bottom.
All right. The budget constraints, what specific areas of the Sheriff's Office budget would you address with regard to its current constraints?
Again, the Executive Bureau is it's just bloated out of control. Again, somewhere with the previous sheriff's last budget year, it's probably spent somewhere around $3 million. This sheriff is somewhere around $17 million. So that's pretty simple to get to that. We look at other areas of the department. Internal affairs, for example. I was assigned to that unit in 2004, 2005. We had 8 investigators for the entire agency. And I can tell you that's not enough. My team knew that we needed probably about 12 investigators. This sheriff swelled that unit to somewhere in the mid-40s. And it got to a point where the investigators were sitting around, they had nothing to do. And so again, that's not helping us as a community, as a sheriff's office. We've got people sitting around doing nothing. That's just not a good idea. In other ways, for example, communications. We have certifieds inside of communications. Now, I'm fine and dandy with some certified personnel there to make certain decisions. However, I think we've got about 10 there. And again, if you dial 911, I promise you, you do not need an officer in communications with a gun. You probably need them at your house. So we need to get that out onto the streets. And so much of this comes back to this zero-based budget policy that I have talked about, because until we can really dissect the sheriff's office, neither one of us knows exactly what's going on in that office. We can take some educated guesses, but until we get there, we just don't know. But by implementing this policy, imagine that we were going to build this sheriff's office from scratch. We have to do the basics. PID, remember that acronym. Patrol, Investigation, and Detentions. That is what we must do well. If we don't do those things well, nothing else will work.
Government that is failing us when it comes to border security, failing us when it comes to dealing with this issue.
The state is caring for many of these minors, but the governor says the federal government is perpetuating the problem by failing to return them to their home countries and discouraging others from coming to the U.S. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee has questions about how information was leaked about a thwarted al-Qaeda bomb plot. Republican Mike Rogers